Good evening, everyone. We welcome you all at this webinar on company forms in MCA21 V3, which is being organized by ICSI in coordination with the Ministry of Corporate Affairs. You all are aware that Ministry of Corporate Affairs has released its first set of 9 company forms for V3 filing on 31st of August 2022, and before that, LLP forms were migrated in March 2022. After conducting rigorous user acceptance testing of such web-based forms, the ministry has launched today its second set of 56 forms, that is on 23rd of January 2023. The complete list of such 56 company forms is available at MCA website. 10 out of them relate to incorporation forms. So now, in order to guide the stakeholders on the nitty-gritties of these newly launched e-forms, this webinar is being organized. So before we start this presentation, we would like to welcome our President, Young and Vibrant President, Mr. Manish Gupta, President ICSI at this webinar, and I request him to kindly give his address.
Thank you, Deepaji. Hope I am audible.
Hanji, sir.
Good evening, everyone. At the outset, I welcome all the stakeholders who have joined this webinar being conducted by ICSI on a topic of V3 launch of new forms by the MCA. Friends, the new council has taken over on 19th of January only. And let me share with you that this council is matured in terms of age and experience, and the oldest member of the council is twice the age of the youngest member. So we do carry those maturity and the experience with us. Your council is planning to have those agendas. We'll be formulating those agendas in the days to come, and all those agendas will be rolled out in the days to come, and we'll be sharing all those things with the members and students in next few days. Friends, this particular webinar is being organized by ICSI on the launch of V3 forms. And as you all are aware that MCA21 was launched in the year 2006, and version 2 was launched in the year 2016-17. And MCA has further launched V3 version in the year 2021, started with 2021, now 2022 we had seen the LLP forms were migrated to V3. Then there were 9 company forms including charge forms were migrated to V3. Now the 56 forms are going to be migrated, are now migrated, I would say, to the V3, and out of these 56, 10 are related to the incorporation. And let me share with you all that this V3 brings in analytical capabilities that has features of module like ebook, e-scrutiny, e-adjudication, e-consultation, compliance management system, MCA lab, and chat box has also been enabled in this V3 version. And I am sure going forward, we all will be benefited out of the V3 version. There are certain
So you are on mute.
I'm sure with the dedicated efforts of the team LTI and MCA, we'll be resolving all those issues very soon. Friends, let me also share with you all that Institute is also capturing all those feedbacks on MCA, working of MCA V3, and we have released one Google form for the benefit of all the stakeholders. You all can use that particular Google form to give us your feedback, suggestions, and improvement wherever the improvements are required in these forms. The link of the Google form is being shared on daily basis through the info capsule, and also being shared separately to all the members and stakeholders. My humble request to each one of you to kindly do forward your feedback and improvements wherever required. And I can assure you that the team LTI, team MCA, and team ICSI are working collectively for the better governance and better improvement in the days to come in the V3 portal. I'm being told that Manoj Pandey would also be joining this webinar. He might be having some issue. So in absentia, I welcome him to this webinar, and going forward, this is going to be the next thing particularly for the company secretaries in the days to come. Thank you all. Thanks for joining this webinar. Over to you, Deepaji. And at the same time, I also welcome the team LTI led by Rajneesh Gupta ji, Vijaya ji, Seema ji, and team MCA, Sanjay ji, Director MCA, and Vivek Meena ji, Deputy Director MCA to this webinar. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. ICSI also acknowledges the dedication and leadership of Shri Manoj Pandey ji, Joint Secretary, Ministry of Corporate Affairs, under whose able guidance this transition from V2 to V3 is made possible. I would now request Mr. Sanjay Jain, Director MCA, to throw guidance on background work and expectations from professionals.
First of all, thanks to Deepa and Manish ji. And also I welcome all the participants who have joined this webinar. Basically, this is a very crucial moment for us because the Spice Plus form is a very complex and important form for starting a business in our country, has been migrated from existing technology to new technology AEM. And our service provider, it is LTI Mindtree, has done a very good job. Also, they have put in their heart while making this transition of Spice Plus form along with this 46, I think 47 STK2 form also. Till date, or we can say up to 2 p.m. I saw the basically the data. From the data, it appears that around more than 150 Spice Plus Part B form has been filled, and INC 33, 34 MOA, UA have been opened up. It shows that somehow users or stakeholder have tried most of the possible combinations which is required by stakeholder to incorporate a company. If this is the case, it means somehow our form is working in a way smooth. However, whenever any launch, any implementation is deployed on a software platform, it is expected that there may be some teething problems. And during these times, we required support from company secretary institutes so that the stakeholders can be handholding. Our technical team, LTI Mindtree, is always available to help out. During this time or initial days, छोटे मोटा issues can be faced by the stakeholders. The big change from V2 to V3 in respect of incorporation form and 46 forms is the updation of registered user to business user and association of DSC, which is required in Spice Plus form. Our technical team, LTI, lead by Rajnish Gupta ji, has prepared some presentation for the stakeholder who will guide them while preparing of the form Spice Plus and 46 form and what needs to be taken care by filling the form. Definitely, it will be very useful for the stakeholder. Also, support of the institute will always required, and I request from President Manish Gupta ji to deploy some resources or some company secretary to coordinate the grievances of the stakeholder faced by ICSI CS, so that our technical team can resolve it after analyzing the issues. Now, our technical team can provide the insight about these 57 forms. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Sanjay ji. Just to add on this, we have already deployed certain people, resource persons at ICSI, and
Yes.
rest assured that all the support, all the due support would be provided to MCA without any failure. And whatsoever help you are looking for, and whatsoever handholding is required to be done for the stakeholders, will be in the forefront to do that. Rest assured about this.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I also acknowledge the presence of Mr. Vivek Meena, Deputy Director at MCA, and invite him if he wants to say something or address our audience.
Good evening, everyone. Director sir has already covered most of the major points. Here, I just want to highlight that right from the inception, the development of the contract and the implementation, as well as the testing, we have involved different stakeholders like the institutes, the industry bodies, and the outside professionals in development of MCA21 V3. We have included the institutes to thoroughly test all the forms before their release to the public. We have been in partnership with the institute to identify the major issues in the form after the launch, and we have been getting regular supports from them. As a result, we have been able to close most of the teething issues that were identified during the LLP launch and subsequent company form launches. We hope and we are sure that the Institute will continue to support us as we move towards the rollout of these 56 forms, which include company incorporation form, one of the major forms. Coming forward, a lot of stakeholders will be using this form, and there are chances that some teething issues might be faced by them. For that, rest assured that the MCA team is available 24/7 for any issues faced by the stakeholders. We have been constantly engaging with the stakeholders wherever possible and have been trying to resolve the issues since the launch of different modules of V3. I will just end by saying that together we are sure that we will be able to successfully roll out and utilize all the different technologies and the facilities that the V3 will provide. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Now moving on, I welcome and invite LTI team, including Ms. Vijaya and Ms. Seema, headed by Mr. Rajneesh Gupta, to guide the audience. Welcome, sir.
Okay. So thank you very much to the chairperson, Shri Manish Gupta ji. I would also like to thank Sanjay ji from MCA side, Vivek sir from MCA side, and Deepak madam, whom we have been working and associated very closely with. So this is I think, a momentous occasion for us, of having majority of the functioning of the MCA system being transformed and brought into the new system. Now, this system, unlike the previous version of MCA21 V2, has been conceptualized by, thinking of a lot of changes and controls and benefits to the end users. The core function of this system will be to improve the compliance level in terms of form filing, etc. Also allow error-free and first-time right filling of forms. So a lot of checks have been put in place where we have also kind of linked forms. There is a flow of data from one form to the other. There are kind of lot of validations put in place which will not allow the users to make mistakes when they are filling in forms. Other major, major change that you would have seen, and this you will continue to see, is that all these forms have been converted into web interactive forms. So what it actually means is whatever you are filling in, you are able to get a response instantly from the system, which guides you in case you are making a mistake. Now, initially, yes, of course, because there is a large scale of data movement from an old system to the new system, There are some teething issues which are to be expected, but our assessment is once those issues are behind us, the ease of filing the forms and using the system will definitely improve for the users. We have also taken into considerations many aspects which were kind of missing or noticed in the old system, which allows, when users are filling in these forms, they fill it right the first time so that the rejection or resubmission of those forms reduced to a very, very negligible levels. So I would like to, take an opportunity to thank the professionals who have been involved, and they have been working us through this very difficult journey of bringing in a very large scale transformation. I would, from my experience of working in IT industry for so many years, I can't think of any other project of this scale and magnitude where a transformation of this level is happening. So we are transforming at the core level where we are changing the technology. We are doing transformation also at the business level where we have put more controls and checks to make sure that the right people are only authorized to file the forms. So there is a user classification now, which my colleague Vijaya would be talking of, and we have been holding and conducting those webinars in past where we have talked about what are the benefits of putting those checks for all the users, so that the compliance level and the capability of pilferage or misuse of the system reduces. And the third part is that the ease of filing the forms, prevention of errors, putting a lot of validation checks will be a thing to be talked about, because it will give a lot of business benefits to the user. So let me welcome everybody, and this journey is kind of unfolding in phases, which allows us to capture the sense of how the system is performing and also take those corrective actions. So I am sure you would have noticed when we initially launched the LLP modules, there were kind of lot of issues that we had faced. Then when we did the second launch, the number of issues significantly reduced. Now it is our endeavor and our core assessment that with our knowledge that we have gained, and also with the kind of cooperation and collaboration we have got from our professional friends, ICAs and ICSI institutes, we have been able to navigate through and kind of understand and comprehend all kinds of requirements of a user to use this system effectively. I will be joined by my colleagues Vijaya and Seema, who are from the domain or the functional side, who will run you through a very, very elaborate presentation on all the 56 forms, how these forms have been clubbed together, what are the checks or balances that we have put in place in terms of enhancing the capabilities of these forms vis-a-vis V2 system. Also, some other changes that we have brought in, like, there are a lot of linkages in the forms itself that has been done to enable one-time single filing with all the data pre-populating from one form to the other, so that one does not have to remember what was filled in the previous form. The system itself will be able to pick that information up and allow you not to make any mistakes. So before I hand over the session to my colleague Vijaya, I would like to thank again the professionals who have joined us in this journey together. And it is only with the support of all the stakeholders. And I believe users of the systems are the ones who will actually vouch, or who will actually be the ones who will tell whether there is a difference or not, though we are using the high-end technology, etc. So I'm sure that few months from now, there would be a sense of accomplishment and achievement by all stakeholders who will say, yes, this is the kind of system we wanted. And we are, of course, open to any kind of feedback We are there 24/7, as Vivek sir mentioned, to take your input, support you through this journey of transforming of the core and at the business user side of the solution component. And it's only together that we can make it happen. So thank you very much for this opportunity to L&T Infotech, Mindtree, LTI Mindtree, for getting this opportunity to address the users directly. Thank you, Deepa ji. And thank you, Manish Gupta ji. So Vijaya, if you could take over and run through this presentation, I will, intervene wherever required if necessary.
Sure. Thank you, Rajneesh.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Before the presentation, I will request all the participants to raise the issues through their submitting the query option, and we will take up the questions after the presentation.
Yes.
You can
yes.
proceed now, Vijayaji.
Good evening, everyone. So we'll start with presentation. Actually, as part of company module rollout, so we have already rolled out 9 forms in the month of August, that is on 31st August 2022, covering all charge management forms and deposit forms, and 2 forms of DIRP KYC, that is web and e-form. So we have launched 9 forms in the month of August. So now, yesterday night, we have launched 56 forms, which are covering mostly which are relating to your incorporation forms and the change management services, especially in terms of converting your company from one to another, or company master changes, especially with respect to address, capital details. So whatever are relating to company incorporation of the company master, all such forms we have grouped into one category. And also along with that, we have added few more rule chapters like directors, all director related forms also we have moved. We will be showing you the list of forms that are covered in this 56 forms lot now. And so this is to ensure that we have all SIN generation, SIN changes or company master changes happens only at one place in V3 system. So this would ensure that there will not be any issues in terms of data syncing between the systems. So of course there are some data sync requirements are there, but this will reduce the risk of risk of data manipulations or whatever, data misplacement and all. So that is the reason why we have made sure that whatever the forms which are relating to incorporation, and after the incorporation, whatever the forms which are required to be filed, which updates your master data. So we have grouped all such forms into this set, and we have deployed on 22nd midnight. So so now only the part that is left over is if I have to mention the major chunk that is there in V2 is basically the annual filing forms with some other forms. Apart from that, all incorporation forms, all director related forms are already being moved to V3 system now. So out of these 56 forms, we've grouped these 56 forms into 2 different sets. One is incorporation form set, which is actually covering around 10 forms. And remaining 46 forms we've grouped under other forms. So we will just talk about incorporation forms first, and then we'll move on to other forms. So as you can see here, we have 10 different incorporation forms, starting with Part A, Run, Part B, Agile Progress, EMOA, EAOA forms, INC and URC1. So when compared with V2 system, so in terms of incorporation forms, you can see here the serial number 6 and 7. These are the 2 forms which got added, which got introduced only in V3 system, so which are required to be filed as a linked filing if you are incorporating your company as a Section 8 company. So in V2 system, so whenever you're incorporating your company as Section 8 company, there is an exception to e-filing of, filing of EMOA, EAOA as a linked filing, because there is no, these forms are not available. Then there is a situation where you have to mandatorily attach this EMOA and AOA within Spice Plus Part B itself. So this is the scenario of V2. So now going forward in V3 system, so if you are incorporating your company as Section 8 company, so instead of 33 and 34, system would automatically enable 13 and 31 subject to the other conditions of maximum limit or the exceptions that are there in the rules. So you will be able to file 13 and 31 as a link filing to Section 8 company. So which means, so you will have either 33 or 34 or 13 or 31 depending on your type of company as a link filing. So apart from this, there are no other changes in terms of number of forms. All these forms are already available. So INC9 and URC1 will always come as a linked filing. You will not be able to file these forms as an independent filing. Same is the case goes with EMOA and AOA Agile Pro S. So, and moreover, in V2 system also, all these forms are web-based forms. So we will continue this in V3 also as a web-based filing. So, remaining 46 forms will come later. So let us quickly see the changes that are happened in these incorporation forms. So before going to the form-wise enhancements, let us talk about the key enhancements that are happened across the 56 forms. So as we know, introduction of web-based forms, thereby reducing manual efforts. So basically in when you compare it with V2, so all the forms in V2 only hardly incorporation forms and KYC web or one of the IEPF form is web-based form. All other forms used to get filed in the form of PDF format only. So user have to manually download the PDFs and fill in offline, and they have to upload these forms onto the portal. So now going forward in V3, all the forms are converted into web-based forms. So thereby you will have an option to save the form in between, and you have so you can validate all the rules at the web form level itself. So there is no need to do a pre-scrutiny. There is no need to wait till the end of the form to do your validations on the form. So this is the advantage of this web-based filing. And one more enhancement in terms of linked filings are basically in V2 system. Linked filings are coming currently only in the incorporation forms, that is INC 33, 34, or Agile Pro S, URC1, and INC9. Only these forms are getting filed as a linked filing through Spice Plus Part B currently. Now, in terms of EMOA, EOA, what is happening in V2 system is at the time of incorporation, EMOA, EOA is getting filed as a linked filing. So, but thereafter, so whenever you are filing any other form which impacts which alters your memorandum or association, you have to attach the memorandum of association, you have to attach the form manually, so in the form of attachment. So that data and whenever you attach something in the attachment section, it is not in a structured format. We will not be able to analyze the data what that is there in the attachment unless it is a structured data. So to ensure that we have consistency across this memorandum of association, articles of association, and anyway it is already linked in incorporation forms, we have identified all the relevant forms wherever user is attaching MOA, AOA, and we have removed all such attachments from the respective forms, and we have made EMOA, EAOA as a linked filing to those forms. So I'll just quickly show you a list of forms that we have added, where we have added EMOA and AOA as a linked filing. Just for one or two examples, I'll just show you. If you see INC12 form, so this is basically application for grant of license for an existing normal company to convert themselves into a Section 8 company. So currently in V2 system, this is an independent filing, and you have to attach MOA, AOA manually to the attachment section. And moreover, INC 13 and 31 is also not available in V2 system. So now going forward in V3, so whenever you're filing for conversion of your normal company into Section 8 company, so system, the moment you file INC12, which is a parent form, which we call it as a parent form, the moment you submit and all the validations are passed, system will mandate you to go and fill in INC 13 and 31. So all these forms put together will get uploaded, and one single SRN would get generated, and everything will get processed in a single work item. The way it is happening for Spice Plus. Similar way, we have added this EMOA, EAOA from across multiple forms like INC 18, 20, 27. 27 is basically whenever you are converting your company class, basically public to private or vice versa, or limited by guarantee to limited by shares or vice versa, or one-person company. So all these scenarios, wherever possible, we have introduced this concept of linked filing of EMOA, EAOA, be it as INC 13 or 31 or 33 or 34, depending on your type of company. And one more point here is, apart from these conversion forms, we have also added linked filing concept in MGT 14, so which is required to be filed for resolution or agreements. So in many cases, there is a prerequisite to file MGT 14 before filing any other form. For example, whenever you want to change your registered office from one state to another, So you have to follow a legal process, like you have to go and pass a resolution in MCT14, and then you have to attach MOA, AOA in the form. After that, you have to go and file INC23, then get an order, and then file INC28, and finally you file INC22. Every time you have to keep on attaching MOA, AOA multiple times. So what we in the 2B system or in V3 system, what happens is whenever you're trying to file MCT14 with the relevant purpose of changing state purpose, system will mandate you to provide your EMOA or EOA, whatever is the logic that is mentioned in your sheet. Suppose, for example, here MOA will become a mandatory requirement. So you have to, whenever you're filing this MCT14 with this purpose, you have to mandatorily give your EMOA as a linked filing. So once you give this link filing, so there is no need to provide this MOA, AOA attachment again and again in the subsequent forms like INC23 or INC28 or INC22. So because in every time you will be referring MCT14 SRN in INC23 or 22, right? So basically, if you have INC22 MCT14 SRN in the subsequent forms, back office user will be so system will be able to link this MCT14 SRN in the processing flow, and back office user will be able to view the MOA or AOA documents from the dashboard itself. There is no need to attach these documents again and again. So this is one of the biggest enhancement that you get to see in almost all the conversion forms, where system will mandate you to link INC 33 and 34 or 13 or 31 in case of Section 8 company as a link filing. So let me go back to the presentation. And in terms of linked filing with respect to Spice Plus form, Spice Plus Part B, there is no change. Whatever the current process that is applicable to file MOA, AOA, the same rules would apply. There is no change happened in terms of rules as far as Spice Plus Part B is concerned. So we have some exceptions, right? You should have number of members less than or equal to 7, number of subscribers, and none of the non-individual subscribers country should belong to India. So there are some mandatory criteria for which we have already uploaded FAQs on portal. So the same logic would apply in V3 system also. So there is no change in terms of filing of linked filing, except introduction of INC 13 and 31 for Section 8 companies. So the next enhancement that you get to see in all the forms is basically auto pre-filling of common fields across forms, ensuring data consistency and effort reduction. So basically, again, there are so many forms wherein you have to follow a sequence. You have to file, suppose if I take an example of buyback, you have to go and file SH8 first, then SH9 followed by SH11. So basically what happens is in V2 system, every time you have to keep on entering the same data in SH9 and SH11. So now in V3 system, so the moment you file SH8 and if you try to file SH9 and you give a reference of SH8 in the form, everything whatever you had given in SH8 would get auto-populated in SH9, thereby reducing manual efforts, and also there will be a consistency of data in MCA database. And next enhancement is basically the form fields optimization by removal of duplicate or redundant fields. So you get to see a lot of changes in terms of number of fields that are available. So many fields got redundant fields or duplicate fields got removed. For example, or maybe it is not just a field, maybe it could be an attachment also. So MOA, AOA is one of the best example. So in terms of removing the attachment. So to the extent possible, so we have removed this duplicate or redundant fields in the forms. In all the 56 forms. So, and the next enhancement and most important enhancement is basically the minimization of attachments. So there are a lot of attachments which either got removed or it got converted into a mission readable format, or attachment got converted into a form in the form of declaration. So if you look at MCA portal, MCA has already issued rule notifications for 11 rule chapters which are already available on MCA portal. So because of all these changes that we have made in V3 system, so maybe suppose if any attachment is getting converted into form, they have to re-notify, they have to make all the rule changes. All those changes have already been made and all these notifications are already available on MCA portal. And then addition of field level validations, thereby minimizing errors at the time of filing. So this is also one of the advantage or the enhancement when compared with V2 form. So what happens in V2 is once you fill in all the data, all validations wherein you have to check based on MCA database. Suppose if you want to check whether you're putting whatever the dates that you're entering is greater than your incorporation date, or if you are entering some MGT14 SRN and you have to check whether this MGT14 SRN is actually associated with your company or it is actually filed for the relevant purpose, you have to click on pre-scrutiny button in V2 system. Only then all these validations would happen and you will get these validation errors only at the end of the form. Now going forward in V3 system, so all these web forms are bifurcated into different blocks in the web in the form of web layout, and you have the you have option to save this data at each page level, and all the validations which are pertaining to that page would happen then and there itself. Suppose if you enter MGT14 SRN and system will throw an error there only. Suppose if this is not associated or this is not a valid SRN, you will get this error at the web form level itself. You need not fill in all the entire form and click on submit button. So this is one of the validations. Same way, suppose if you are trying to give a date which is lesser than your incorporation date, for example. So then you will get an error saying that whatever the date that you've entered in the web form is actually less than your incorporation, which is not correct. So all these kind of validation errors, you will get it on the page itself. So you need not wait till the end of the form to get these errors. And then the last enhancement. So basically currently in V2 system, we have this size limit of 6 MB, including all attachments. So which has been increased to 10 MB. And individual attachments also currently there's no limit. There's no limit in V2 system. So we have restricted individual attachment limit to 2 MB. So which means going forward, you can file any form up to a maximum size of 10 MB. So these are all the major enhancements that you get to see in all these 56 forms. So before going to the form-wise enhancements, so let us just talk about the user registration or the key points that we need to consider in terms of filing these 56 forms. So as we all know that in V2 system, all the filing is basically based on registered user login base. So anybody who has a registered user ID, they will be able to upload any form. And moreover, DSC association is a pre-login service. It is not linked with your user registration module. So, but however, in V3 system, so most of the forms, except incorporation forms or 1 or 2 exceptional forms, all these forms have to be filed by a business user only. So they will not be able to register. If I only just have a registered user login, I will not be able to file any form. So let us see what is the difference between registered user and what kind of business user roles that we have in V3 system. So registered user is basically a person who is having his personal details and email ID and mobile number. And it is not necessary that he has to have his PAN also. If a person who is not having PAN also can get himself or herself registered as a registered user. And there is no requirement to have an association with any company or any LLP or any other entity for that matter. So basically anybody who wants to register without any association with this company or any LLP and who is not having PAN also, they can get registered themselves as a registered user. But now when it comes to business user, we have different roles. Let us quickly discuss about each business role, user role, and what is the relevance, what is the prerequisite for registering or upgrading your role to that particular role. So now first one is company or LLP user. So as name suggests. So one more thing I would like to highlight here is one difference when compared with V2 and V3. In V2, you even though you've provided your email ID, so you used to have a separate user ID. But in V3 system, your email ID will be nothing but your user ID. So which means whenever you're trying to register yourself as a business user or registered user, whatever the email ID that you had provided, except in case of director and designated partner, in those cases, obviously your email ID and mobile number will be picked from your MC database, because we are not allowed, system will not allow you to give a different email ID and mobile number for director or designated partner, because law says that you have to give your details through DIN allotment or through KYC e-form or through DIR 6. So except that form, or whatever the email ID that you have entered at the time of registration or at the time of role upgrade, so that will be nothing but your user ID for in V3 system. Now, only one exception that is available for this email ID concept, user ID, is basically the company or LLP user. Whenever you are trying to register yourself as a company or LLP user, so you have to provide your company or LLP or FCRN details, which is a prerequisite, which means you are creating a business user role for that particular company or LLP. So what happens is whenever you're trying to register under this role, so once you give all your details of company, name, everything, address, everything it populated, again, you will not be able to edit these details because everything would come from your company master. And then any person who is associated with the company, any director who is associated with that company, so has to authenticate this registration. Only then registration process would get completed. Once your registration process gets completed, so your SIN number or LLP number or FCRN number or FLLP number, whatever you had given, that becomes your email, your user ID. So whenever you're trying to log in with this user ID, so you simply give your LLP number. So now the advantage of having this user is basically, user role is basically whenever you log in with your LLP number, so your SIN number will get auto-populated in the form. Suppose if you want to file MCA21, you're trying to log in with LLP company user with this particular SIN, that SIN number would get auto-populated in the web form, and the moment you just press enter, everything relating to your SIN number, that is name, address, email ID, would get auto-filled. So there is no need to enter the details manually, everything is pre-populated. This is the advantage of company user. And now one important point that we would like to highlight here is, if you have a company or LLP user, the restriction or constraints that we have is, this company or this LLP user would be able to file the forms only for that particular entity only. Suppose if I have a user role called company or LLP user for say company or LLP A, I will be able to file the forms only for that entity only. I will not be able to file the form for any other entity. This is the limitation that we have for company or LLP user. So the next user is director or designated partner. So as the name suggests, the prerequisite to have this business user role is basically to have your DIN number. So if you have a DIN number, you can create your business user, or you already have a registered user, you can upgrade your role to business user with director or designated partner by providing the relevant details. So in this case, a PAN is not mandatory. You can because you can get your DIN, or you can apply for a DIN without a PAN also if you in case of foreign nationals, right? So that is the reason why we have relaxed that PAN is not required to be. I mean, PAN is not mandatory. If you want to give, if the PAN is already available in the database, you can give. Otherwise, it is not required. Now, what actually happens? What this role does is basically, so if I have a director or designated partner role, and I am associated with, say, for example, 10 companies. I am a director in 10 companies. So which all forms can I, if I'm associated with 10 companies, can I go and file a form for 11th company or 12th company wherein I'm not associated? The answer is no. So if you have a business user role with a DIN or director or designated partner category, you will be able to file the form only in the companies in which you are currently associated with. So that is the reason why if you log in with a DIN number and try to file MGT14, then you will get a drop down of list of 10 companies in my example as a drop down, so that you have to choose only out of those 10 companies which company you want to file MGT14. So you will not be able to.
So those entities automatically get changed in case the director resigns or any change is there. That is automatically done.
Yes, ma'am. So
that is a very good concept. Yeah.
Yes. So you will be able to select the relevant SIN number from the drop down, and you can go ahead and file the form. So in this case also, you're not required to enter the SIN manually. So this is the concept of director or business designated partner role. And the professional user is basically, professional user is the one role who can file any form for any company, because obviously professionals are not actually associated with the companies. These are outsiders. So they can file any form. So that is why if you log in with any of the professional user role, you will have an option to search the company name, and you will have an option to enter the SIN manually. So that is the reason. So, but the professional user can file the form for any company or any entity without any restriction, the way we have restrictions in company or director roles. So the next commonly.
So if that professor, sorry, I'm interrupting in between whatever is coming in my mind, maybe on behalf of stakeholders I'm asking. So if one professional is also a director in any company, so he has to choose the category of director designated partner only.
So ma'am, at one point in time, system can take only one role. Suppose if you want to sign on behalf of professional, so you have to keep on switching the roles. That is easily, I mean, you can switch the roles by simply by upgrading yourself to one role to another. But at one point in time in a system, you can have only one role, ma'am.
Okay. We can change whenever we.
Yeah, definitely they can change, because many users will have multiple roles, like professional user role and director role, so they can change. Okay, so the next role is basically again the commonly used role, or we call it as a residuary role, which is manager, secretary, authorized representative. So any person here, the prerequisite, sorry to I missed one point in professional user. So the prerequisite for professional user is basically you need to have a membership number with any of these institutes of company secretary or chartered accountant or cost accountant. You need to have a membership number, and also you should have a PAN. These two parameters are prerequisite. And we will be validating both these fields with the, suppose if you enter membership number, we will be validating with the professional institutes database, whatever we get it on a weekly basis. And also the PAN number we will validate with CBDT. This is how
on this, I have on this manager category, I have received a question that it asks for DIN also.
No, ma'am. So in manager, secretary, authorized representative role, there is no DIN field. It is only a PAN-based registration for this role, ma'am. So only PAN is a mandatory requirement. So just to highlight one point, since we are discussing about Spice Plus Part B form, so Spice Plus Part B requires affixing DSC for all the first directors and subscribers in case of INC9, or all subscribers in EMOA, right? So which means it is mandatory for the users to get them registered under director role or designated role if the person is already having a DIN number. Suppose if the person is not having a DIN number, and if they want to sign in any of these incorporation forms, then they have to mandatorily get them registered as a manager or secretary or authorized representative role by providing their PAN number. This is how you can affix your DSC. In suppose if you are trying to apply for a DIN, you don't have DIN, you have a PAN number, so then you can go and register yourself under authorized representative role, and you can sign the Spice Plus Part B also. So the next three categories are relating to nodal officer and deputy nodal officer relating to IUP forms, which are these forms are currently in V2. Let us not discuss about these user roles. And the last one is professional staff members, so which we've added after launch of LLP. So this is to ensure that if professional has some 5 team members working under him, and they can create their separate login IDs. But they have to, whenever they are creating their professional staff member login ID, they have to link their login ID with the membership number of the professional. So thereby, so that we will have a track in the system that if someone is uploading a form, so under which membership number the form is getting uploaded on portal. So that is the relevance of this professional staff member. So it is a mandatory that you have to give a reference of membership number of your professional member while creating your role as professional staff member. So before going to enhancement, one more important point that we would like to highlight is in terms of DSC. So in V2 system, as I mentioned, it is a pre-login service with no way connected with your user registration module, right? If you have a DIN or PAN number or membership number, you can go and associate your DSC. But in V3, it will not happen like this. For associating any DSC, it is mandatory requirement to have a business user role. So which means whoever wants to sign any form, be it a Spice Plus Part B or INC9 or EMOA or any other forms which are grouped under these 56 forms or 9 forms which are already rolled out. So if they want to sign any form, it is a prerequisite that they should have a business user role, and only then they will be able to associate the DSC onto the system and they will be able to sign. Okay, so
first and foremost requirement is to upgrade yourself as business user. Then only you can do all these filing.
Yes, ma'am. Okay. So we will now quickly move on to the enhancement part. So let us first discuss about incorporation forms. We'll start with part A. So as all incorporation forms are web-based forms, there is no change in terms of the functionality of the form, the way form is structured and all, but with some changes, enhancement that we discussed in the previous slides. So in terms of part A, one major change that we have made is basically introduction of NIC 2008 codes as against NIC 2004 codes in V2. The two in V2 system, so stakeholder has an option only to enter the main division, which is basically a first 2-digit code of the industrial activity code. and then you have to file Spice Plus Part B only. So you will get to know what is your 5-digit industrial activity code only after approval of Spice Plus Part B, because there's a dependency on the back office user, who is the one who will affix your remaining 3 digits to your main division, right? So now going forward, that functionality of adding 3 digits or only filing with 2 digits we have removed. And now users himself can choose what is his NIC 5-digit code, which is based on 2008 NIC. And also he can choose maximum of 3 codes, of which he has to select one of the code as a primary code. So the similar enhancement, we have made it in MGT14 also. So because you can change your objects through MGT14, right? So there also, wherever NIC 2004 codes we are taking, which is in 2-digit code, which we are taking in V2 system, we have shifted to NIC 2008 in V3. And one more change that we have made in Part A is basically, so we have added several checks and business rules. We have automated many name rules which are not actually getting validated in V2 system, and also trademark validations, which is basically outside the validation. Basically, if you want to see trademark validation, you have to go and use a service called trademark query trademark availability, which is a separate service. So now going forward, you will get the trademark validations also on the Spice Plus Part A screen itself the moment you click on auto check rules. So this is also one of the enhancements that we have made in Part A. Run, we have not made any changes. The run which is required for change of name. So there is no change happened in terms of layout, because you just have to give your name and you have to give a proposed name, right? So we hardly have 3-4 fields. We have not made any changes in run. Now let us go to Spice Plus Part B. So there's no change in the processing type. Obviously, due date is not applicable. And let us talk about the enhancements. So the first enhancement, which we've already discussed, is basically introduction of EMOA and AOA for Section 8 companies. So INC 13 and 31 we have added. So whenever you're trying to file a Spice Plus Part B with your type of company, a Section 8 or Part 1 Section 8, so system will mandatorily ask you to file these forms. These would get enabled automatically, and it is mandatory to file these forms as a linked filing. And next enhancement is basically INC 3, which is basically required for OPC company incorporation, which is nothing but consent of nominee. So currently it is getting filed as an attachment to Spice Plus Part B. I will just quickly show you the layout of Spice Plus Part B also with a few enhancements. So currently nominee details, you will enter all the nominee details in the form, but the consent of nominee is getting filed as an attachment. Now we have removed that attachment from the Spice Plus Part B, and we have added a nominee consent section in the form itself. And we have added a DSC of nominee also, which means you can, if you can see my screen, this is nothing but your INC 3 consent format, which is there in the rules currently. Now you have to give all the details. System would automatically pre-fill the nominee details, and you just have to affix your DSC. So again, as I mentioned, if nominee is having a DIN number, he can have his business user role as director or designated partner. If nominee is not having DIN, he can associate himself, or he can create his user ID with authorized representative role by providing his PAN, and then he has to affix his DSC, which is again a mandatory requirement if you are incorporating a OPC company.
So nominee should also have DSC.
Yes, ma'am. So which means if nominee should have DSC, means he should have business user role. So everywhere it is going to business user role only.
Okay.
And then next enhancement in terms of layout is basically bifurcation of capital into different classes. So if you see V2 forms, only in MGT 7 and 7A, system is asking the company to give their class-based capital details. Suppose if equity has 2-3 classes, so none of the forms apart from MGT 7 and 7A, we are not capturing class-based information. But going forward in V3 forms, in all the forms, wherever you are referring capital details, say for example, Spice Plus Part B, Pass 3, SH7, Pass 6, INC 28, or buyback related forms. So everywhere you have to give your details in class-based information format only. Suppose if you have only one class, you have to give you have only one class of share, and then only your section would get enabled. So I'll just quickly show you the Spice Plus Part B for your quick reference. So you can see here in V2 layout only we had these sections: authorized, issued, subscribed and unclassified, and equity and preference. This is how we used to have. But now here, if you see, we have equity share capital, and the moment we have equity share capital, you have to punch in how many number of classes you have, and based on this number, this entire block would get regenerated. Same is the case with preference share capital, and this change you will get to see in almost all the forms wherever capital details are referred. And so the next change is the common change across the forms. So currently in V2, if you want to attach some document to the form, you have to wait till the end of the form. You have to fill everything, and at the end of the form, you have to attach, or you have to scroll down to the form. If it is a form is running into pages, then you have to attach and come back. So to avoid all that confusion, so basically we have added all the relevant attachments at the relevant section only. Suppose if I go back to the Spice Plus Part B and choose the address section, so wherein you will give your correspondence address, and then you select whether your correspondence address is same as the registered address. Whenever you say yes, then it is mandatory for you to provide your proof of address details. So in V2 form, it is coming at the end of the layout, right? So but now in V3 forms, wherever possible, whenever you are providing some identity proof, it is one of the example for address. So same scenario, same concept is implemented for subscribers who are not having DIN, or who are applying for a DIN, or directors who are applying for a DIN. So everywhere you have this attachment section within that respective block only. So there is no need to wait till the end of the form to give your attachment details. And this enhancement we have made across the forms.
So without attaching the required documents, it will not.
You will not be able to proceed. You will not be able to proceed.
Okay.
Because entire form is bifurcated into different sections, right? Suppose 4 is coming in one page, and without attaching these documents, you will not be able to proceed to section 5.
This is also a very good enhancement, because then and there it should be completed. Yes, the information should be completed.
Yes, ma'am. And now the next enhancement is standardization of notings and remarks. So this is for back office user. For stakeholders point of view, viewing remarks. So whenever your form is marked for resubmission, so currently in V2 system, so you will get an email. Only based on email, you will get to know what is the remark which is given by the back office user or the ROC user, and then you have to save that email, or you have to keep on checking those emails for remarks. Now going forward in V3 system, so since we have already introduced the concept of application history, wherein you can get to see all the forms that are uploaded by you, or you can save forms in a draft mode. You can start filling half of the form, you can save it. You have so many other functionalities like edit, upload your PDF, or affix your DSC. Apart from that, whenever your form comes for resubmission, so against the SRN, so you have an option called view remarks. So the moment you click on the tab, you will be able to see the remarks provided by the back office user. There is no need to check your mails and to see what kind of remarks back office user has given. This is also one of the
just wanted to add a point out here that we have provided the functionality of the individual or the front office user's dashboard. That is why we request every stakeholder to create a company's dashboard also, company user login also, so that the companies are also updated that what all notices, information which are being provided by the back office user, so that they can take action against that and give the needful replies. Because subsequently, when all other modules is going to run, then you'll be getting the notifications on your dashboards also, and through dashboards also you can send your reply. So it is advisable and suggestible that the professionals should prompt the companies to create a company login also. So whatever Vijay is trying to say is that whatever information which was coming through mail or which was missing in either a physical communication, that is not going to be missed nowadays in future ahead, because the personal dashboards of the people who are doing filing will be provided, and they'll be having the information around it.
It will save lot of time also.
Yes,
right.
Yes.
And many of the professionals may have already experienced the dashboard functionality, but this is one thing which will be, since company forms are coming in a big way, so it will be a better it'll be a better way of being connected to the back office user. Vijaya, please proceed.
So, ma'am, so
Correct.
the next
and
kind
no one will have an excuse that I did not get the information on right time or right.
Yes, ma'am. So the next set of enhancement is in terms of attachment. So basically, ma'am, there are so many attachments which are converted into a machine readable format, or we have moved that attachment to a declaration format. So one such example is INC 14 and 15. So INC 14 is basically a declaration by professional whenever you're incorporating your company as Section 8 company. So you have to mandatorily attach this INC 14 as an attachment. So we've removed this attachment and we have added, we already have a declaration by professional in Spice Plus Part B. So what we have done is we have added whatever is the declaration points that are coming from INC 14 in this declaration by a professional section only. So if I have to show you, so you can see declaration by professional is already there. But in V2 form, if you see, only this is getting, only we have till 4th point we have in V2. But these 2 points also we've added in V3 layout, and these will be visible only if you are trying to file your type of company as Section 8 company. So only then these 2 declaration points will be visible. So that there's no need to give this attachment, which is basically, again, it will be an unstructured format. We are not able to use this for any analysis purposes. So, and then the next attachment is INC 14. This is again similar to 14. 15 is required to be given by declaration by all subscribers and directors. Here also we have removed this attachment and we have added, anyway we have a declaration by subscribers section in Spice Plus Part B. We have added the relevant declaration in Part B itself. So the next enhancement is basically, again, relating to attachment. We have an attachment called resolution of unregistered companies. Whenever you're trying to register, whenever you're trying to incorporate your company as a Part 1 company, that is any existing company wants to get it converted into a company, so be it as Part 1 LLP or Part 1 firm to company. So there's a mandatory attachment which is there in Spice Plus Part 3, which is getting enabled only if URC1 is mandatory. URC1 is coming into picture. So URC1 will come into picture whenever you're trying to incorporate your company as a Part 1 company. So what we have done is we've removed this attachment from Spice Plus Part B and we've added in URC1 because anyway that is required to be enabled only for URC1. And the next attachment, so we have Part A, you can file it independently or together with Part B, right? So whenever Part A is filed independently and you're trying to file Part B, after approval of Part A in V2 system, it is mandatory for you to attach the Part A PDF into Spice Plus Part B form, which is removed now because we have anyway linked this Part A in Part B in whenever back office user is processing. So we will be providing this as a linked filing so that back office user can view this form in the dashboard whenever he's processing the form. So there is no need to give this attachment because we already have this information in MCA database. And other changes basically geo coordinates. So we have added wherever you are taking address details, we have added especially for companies. So we have added latitude, longitude, for example, in Spice Plus Part B or INC 22. So these are all the examples where you get to see this latitude, longitude fields. And all other attachment, all of these points are common across all the forms, which we have already discussed. So we will move to the next form. Next is URC1. So as I mentioned, URC1 filing, you can file this URC1 filing only as a linked filing to Spice Plus Part B. You cannot file, you will not be able to file this as an independent filing. So that too, whenever you're trying to incorporate your company as Part 1 company, this linked filing will come into picture. So again, let us quickly see the enhancement. So this attachment, as I mentioned, we have removed this from Part A, Part B, and we have added in URC1. And there are some attachments which are relating to consent of majority members and consent of so basically there's 2-3 attachments relating to members' consent and all. So all these attachments we have removed it and we have added these as a in the form of declaration in INC9 form. So INC9 is basically you have to file all first director subscribers and first directors, they have to file INC9, right? So declaration. So in that form we have added these declarations. So these attachments we have converted into a declaration and then we have added. I'll just quickly show you the URC1 also. Sorry, INC9 I have to show you. So you can see here, we have converted this into a declaration and we have removed this attachment in URC1. Okay, so next enhancement we'll see. And attachments. So here we have again removed these 2 attachments called declaration of 2 or more directors verifying the particulars and stamp duty undertaking. So we have removed these attachments and we have added these declarations in URC1 form itself, the way we've seen in Spice Plus Part B, right? So we have removed these attachments, we have added in the declaration section. And same way, attachment certificate from CS, CWA, we have removed this attachment in URC1 and we have added a declaration section for professional in URC1 also. Because there is so much of redundancy of attachments, because anyway professional has to sign your incorporation form. So then we can ask the same professional to sign here also. There is no need to provide this in the form of attachment. So please note that whatever the changes that we are discussing, all the rule changes, whatever the rule changes required to be done are already done by MCA, and all these notifications, there are 11 rule chapters got modified or amended, and all such notifications are already available on MCA portal. So we have made some nomenclature changes. So this is again a minor change. And we have also added one new field called date of publication of advertisement as per Rule 4 of companies authorized to register rules, which is not there in V2. So as per this rule, it says that you have to publish in your advertisement, you have to publish in the newspaper and you have to wait for a period of 30 days. So, and if you are trying to file the form with after post 30 days, you can provide all the objection details in the form of attachment within URC1 itself. Suppose if you are trying to file the form before the expiry of 30 days, system will automatically take the date that you have entered in the form and it will wait for 30 days and only then it will be pushed for back office processing. So this is also one of the enhancements that we have made in URC1. So all other changes are minor changes. The common changes that are there in other forms. We'll move to next form. EMOA and EAOA. So these changes we have already discussed. So we have introduced two new forms, INC 13 and 31 for Section 8 companies. And in terms of layout, structure, everything would remain same, but we have added some auto population of fields, that is object clause. Currently it is you have to enter your object clause manually in EMOA in V2 system. Since now we have moved from 2-digit NIC 2004 base to NIC 2008, which is 5-digit. So system will automatically pick the description of that 5-digit and would pre-populate in EMOA form based on your Spice Plus Part A. Similarly, a subscriber and share capital details will be picked from Part B and would be auto-populated. So these are all the changes in EMOA and EOA. And INC 35, we have not made any changes in INC 35. This form is required to be, it is a mandatory linked filing. So for all external integrations apart from PAN 10. So PAN 10 information would come from your Spice Plus Part B only. But we have not made any, too many changes are not there, but only this attachment, placing of attachment at the relevant section we have added. And one more thing that we would like to highlight is, whenever you have to give the details of authorized representative and directors in section 12 or 13 of Agile Pro S, right? So currently in V2, you have to enter these details manually. And once you submit, then system will validate whether you have given correct details when compared with Spice. So then your system will throw an error. So now going forward in V3 system, so whatever the DIN numbers or whatever the PAN number or passport numbers you have given, so that would get populated in the form of drop down, and the moment you select the drop down, data would get picked from Spice Plus Part B if available. If it is DIN is provided in Spice Plus Part B, data would be picked from your DIN master and will be populated automatically. There is no need to enter the details manually and getting these errors at the end of the submit. So INC 9 declaration, so we've already discussed, we have added few of the declarations, few of the attachments we have converted into declarations and we have added in INC 9. So this we've already discussed. I will quickly move to the next set of forms. With this, we have completed all 10 forms of incorporation enhancements. So we will go to the remaining 46 forms. So we will try to cover top 10 or 15 form enhancements in this session. So before going to the form enhancement, let us quickly see what kind of forms that we've included in this 46 lot. So as you can see here, we have included all director forms. So the rationale behind it is basically we wanted to make sure that there will be rule changes happens at the chapter level, right? We have to make sure that all the forms which are covered in that rule chapter is included in this set, or there should not be any rule change. If it is just a form layout notification, then in that manner we have bifurcated the forms or we've grouped these forms. So that is the reason why all director forms are included in this set. even though few forms are not actually frequently filed forms like DAR 3C and all, but still we have included all the forms which are coming from this appointment and disqualification of director rule chapter. And apart from these 6 forms, we have added 2 new forms in VP system, that is DIR 9 and DIR 10. That is for 9 is for disqualification of directors and 10 is for removal of directors. So removal of disqualification of directors. So which is currently getting filed as an attachment to your GNL forms. These forms are not e-forms in V2 system. So these 2 forms got introduced in VP along with all the 6 director forms. And then we have included all conversion forms, whatever may be the conversion, like INC 12, 18, 20. 20 is again not a conversion form. This is for commencement of business. So since it is linked to your master data, so that is the reason why we've included this form also here. And then all address related forms, change related forms, 22 and 23 we've included. INC 24 is change of name form we've included, because this, so you can, if you observe, so all these forms would have some or other impact on your master data, be it as company master or director master. And 27 is again conversion form. 28 is again whenever you get any order from any competent authority, so you are expected to file INC 28, and there are so many forms wherein you have to give a reference of INC 28, right? So that is the reason why we've included this form in this set of lot. And 4 is again for changing your member or nominee details for 1-person company. 6 is for conversion of 1-person company into private company or vice versa. So MGT 14, so very important form. So this form is basically the most frequently filed form, which has a dependency on subsequent filing. So basically, if you want to file, change your address, so you have to go and file MGT 14 first, and then you have to refer this SRN. Like this, in almost all conversion forms or capital related forms, you are supposed to enter MGT 14 SRN. So that is the reason why, even though it is coming from a different chapter, but we have moved this form also along with this set, because there will be less, dependency on V3 data. So then MR1, MR2. So these are all the 2 forms that are available in appointment and remuneration of managerial personnel chapter. So since we are moving director forms, all director master, so these are relating to directors. So that's why we have directors or KMPs. We have moved these 2 forms also. So MR1 is again, this is for appointment of managing director, whole-time director or manager. So which is required to be filed within 60 days of your appointment. MR2 is for application to central government. So if you want to file this form based on Schedule 5, but there are some exceptions given in Schedule 5, right? So for that, MR2 is required. So since both the forms are relating to directors, anyway, we are moving all the forms of directors to V3. So we have picked up these 2 forms also in the set. Though these forms are not actually frequently filed forms, are not applicable for all the cases. And then NDH form. So all NDH forms we are moving because initially we thought of moving NDH4, but because since again rule notification and all will have an issue, so that is why we wanted to move entire Nidhi rule chapter to V3. So whatever the forms that are included in Nidhi rule chapter, so we've included in this lot only. So that is nothing but NDH 1, 2, 3, 4. These 4 forms are available in Nidhi rules. We have moved all these forms to V3. And then a pass 3, written of allotment, which is again a critical form, so which updates your capital master. Same is the case with SH7, which updates you again your capital master. So that is the reason why we have moved these 2 forms also. And all 3 buyback forms also we have moved, that is SH8, 9, and 11. So all these 3 are relating to buyback of securities, because anyway we are moving all capital master related forms. So that is why we have moved buyback related forms also, which impacts your capital details. And then GNL3 is again not frequently filed form. This is required to be filed for persons charged for the purpose. Since this is again creates your association, so which is similar to your director or KMP association. So that is why we've moved GNL3 also. Pass 6 is basically a reconciliation of share capital, which is required to be filed on a half-yearly basis. Since we are moving all capital forms, we have moved Pass 6 also. MGT3 is not actually a very frequently filed form, but since it is not a complex form and there is no rule dependency also, that is why we have moved MGT3 also, though it is not actually very frequently filed form. And pass-to form, information memorandum. This is again a new form that is added in V3 system. So in V2 system, GNL2 is where actually we have a purpose called information memorandum. So if you want to file this pass-to, you have to go to GNL2 form. You have to select the purpose as information memorandum, and then you have to file this pass-to as an attachment. Again, if the moment you file it as an attachment, it becomes unstructured format. So that is the reason why we have converted that purpose into e-form, that is pass-to. So going forward, which means in GNL2 going forward, you will not have this purpose called information memorandum. 9 and 10 we have already discussed. So AOC 5 is again, even though it is coming from accounts related chapter, since there is no dependency on rule, it is only a form which is getting denotified. So we have included this also in this set. And all foreign company forms, FC1, 2, 3, all foreign company forms which are coming from registration of foreign company rules, we have grouped it in this lot, so that all rule notifications for this chapter happens at one go. And GNL2 also we have moved because there is some dependency on prospectors or the share related information. There's, I mean, when compared with the remaining forms which are there in V2, GNL2 has more dependency on the forms that are there in V3 system. So that is why we have moved GNL2 also to V3. And addendum form of GNL4, this anyway will come into picture only if SRN is marked under pending for user clarification. So that is the reason why we have moved this form. Again, this form also, it is very, I mean, not frequently filed form, because mostly your SRN would get marked under resubmission. Marking SRN and PUCL is very rare. And all
with regard to this GNL2, we have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
For companies which are in the corporate insolvency resolution process, various forms are to be filed in the form GNL2. So post V3 also, how can we file these forms? Through GNL2 only?
We have, GNL2 only, ma'am. We have retained that purpose, ma'am. So there's no change happened in terms of purpose in terms of IBC 2016. That purpose is still there in GNL2.
Okay. Please continue.
Only we have removed this information memorandum purpose, ma'am. Otherwise, existing purposes are there. In fact, we have added 1 or 2 new purposes also. So the next set of forms that we have moved is
Vidya, I think their query is something else. What ma'am is trying to say is that they have got the company status is under liquidation. The IRP wants to do the filing. Is it your query, ma'am?
Yes. The company is in insolvency resolution process.
And
so previously, the forms are being filed through GNL2. So in V3, how that would be filed?
No, ma'am. So in V3, so ma'am, we will talk about NC28. Then I will explain what is the process of IRP, RP, liquidator user association creation.
There is a separate process.
Yeah. I mean, we have added wherever required. So we have added those roles also in DSC section. So apart from director, manager, CEO, CFO that you get to see, manager, secretary that you get to see in all the forms. Apart from that, you will also get to see IRP, RP, liquidator in many of the forms. So which means those people can sign the forms whenever your company is under CIRP or under liquidation. So, but association, how that association would get created, that we will explain you in IMC28.
So GNL2 is not required. The same form can be filed by the liquidator. The option of signing by the liquidator is added.
Yes, ma'am. So then we have moved all MSC forms 1, 2, 1, 3, 4, which are coming from your company's miscellaneous rules. And then last form is RD1 form, which is again part of incorporation rules. So out of whatever the forms that are there in incorporation rules, except IMC22A, we have moved all the forms which are coming from incorporation rules chapter. So this is about the list of 46 forms. Now let us quickly see the enhancements for the most frequently filed forms. So DIR 12 form, so which is required to be filed for appointment of directors or change in designation or cessation of directors or appointment and cessation of your KMPs with role CEO, CFO, manager, secretary. So in V2 system, we only have for director, when it comes to director, we have only 3 purposes, that is appointment, change in designation and cessation. But in V3, so we have added 2 new purposes called appointment due to disqualification of all existing directors and appointment by liquidator, IRP, RP. So actually here, if you look at what is the need to introduce this purpose, appointment due to disqualification of all existing directors. So currently what happens is in V2 system, suppose if there is a company in which all directors are disqualified, then now if they want to appoint a new director also, there is no one to sign the form. So it is basically a deadlock situation. So in that case, they have to approach the ROC and they have to raise a request, and ROC has to use some back office service to create the association. There's a very long process involved. So now going forward in V3, if that situation comes, if your company has some 3 directors and all of them have been disqualified, then you can, so any promoter shareholder, he can sign the form and he can appoint the directors. So that is the reason why, if I can show you the DIR 12 layout.
And the promoter shareholder should be auto-filled, na? No other person can sign that form.
Yes.
In
As
that
from
situation.
here, if you see promoter shareholder is there, again here you have to again the same rule applies. If you want to sign, you have to have your business user role with authorized representative, and it is mandatory to provide your PAN number. So PAN of the manager or promoter shareholder, it says that, which means it is a implicit requirement that if promoter shareholder wants to sign the form, he has to get himself or herself registered on MCA portal as a business user role, and then associate your DSC. You can register your business user role with PAN number, and then you have to associate your DSC, and only then you will be able to sign this form.
It is to accommodate the provisions of Section 167 of the Companies Act, ma'am.
Okay, so but these purposes, whatever the 2 purposes that we have added, appointment due to disqualification, and one more purpose that we have added is appointment by liquidator or IRP. Suppose if your company is under liquidation or under CIRP and you want to appoint any directors, so you have to choose this option. But in these 2 cases, only the difference is basically, so you may ask, this is also appointment only, what is the need to have this as a separate purpose? The difference is basically in V2 or V3 system, all appointments are basically auto-approved. It gets processed under STP mode. But in these 2 cases, it will not get auto-approved. It will go to back office user for further processing. So this is one of the change, and there is no change in the due date or the number of days that are allowed in V2 or V3. So we'll just quickly go to the enhancements. So web-based is the common enhancement across the forms. 2 new purposes that we discussed. And then consent to act as a director. So very important point. So in V2 system, so whenever director is getting appointed, it is mandatory to provide your consent of such director in the form of DIR2, which you have to validate as an attachment, right? So now going forward in V3 system, so whenever director is getting appointed with any of the purposes, whatever we have seen, appointment or disqualification of all directors, or appointment by liquidators, whatever is the purpose, whenever director is getting appointed, this DIR2 form, which is currently there in V2 system, has been converted into a machine readable format and in the form of a declaration. So which means, I will just show you the layout quickly. You can see here, it is not just the person who is signing on behalf of the company has to affix his DSC. The DSC requirement we have introduced for the person who is getting appointed as a director also, because we have removed this concept of DIR2 as an attachment, and we have added this in the form of declaration in the layout. So which means the person who is getting appointed also has to affix his DSC, which again it is an implicit requirement that person who is getting appointed as a director, obviously will be having a prerequisite to have your DIN number, right? He has to create his business user role with the director role. Only then he will be able to associate his DSC and he will be able to sign. And this is applicable for all the directors who are getting appointed through DIR 12.
So most physical attachments are now removed. Like now consent DIR2 is in the physical copies and attached.
Yes.
So
yes,
now
ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Right. Understood.
So this is about the DIR 12. So we'll quickly go to MGT 14. So MGT 14 is for filing of resolution and agreement. So this is the most referred form in all in other forms. So you have many forms wherein you have to give a reference of MCT14 SRN, and we have validations whether it is associated with your company or whether it is valid or whether you have filed it for a specific purpose or not. So we have many dependencies. Many forms have a dependency on this MCT14 form. So in terms of enhancements, ma'am, actually, if you see V2 layout, you have around 50 plus purposes. Since it is a resolution form, so we have so many purposes or the sections that are covered in this form. Now in V2, in V3, so basically we have enhanced those purposes. Basically, we have removed some of the purposes, redundant purposes, which are relating to Companies Act 1956. Suppose if you look at current MGT14 form, so you get to see all liquidation sections which are as per 1956 Act, which is of no use as of now. So we have removed all the sections, all the purposes, and we have added IBC related under voluntary liquidation purposes we have added. And also we have enhanced the existing purposes that are there. So we have, wherever possible, we have bifurcated one purpose into multiple purposes, and we have introduced new purposes which are not currently there in a V2 system. So I'll just quickly show you the Excel just for a reference of one or two purposes. I will just show you. So here, if you see, now change in registered address within the same within ROC within the same state. So we have these two purposes we have added. But if you look at V2 layout, you have only one purpose. That one purpose got bifurcated into two purposes, and the similar change we have done it in INC22 and INC23 also, so that whenever user is entering MGT14 SRN, we can validate that is actually filed for the respective purpose or not. Because MGT14 can be filed for a number of purposes. It is important to check whether that SRN which is referred by the stakeholder is actually pertaining to this purpose or not. So like this, we have bifurcated one purpose into multiple purposes, and we have added all these purposes which are relating to conversion, which are not there in V2 layout, V2 MGT14. So currently we only have public to private and private to public. But this conversion of limited by guarantee to limited by shares or vice versa, these rules are amended long back, but respect to purpose is not available in MGT14. So all this kind of enhancements we have made in MGT14.
This is very appreciable. I think lots of practical difficulties you must be receiving, and you have observed and understood all those things and incorporated in the forms. That is well appreciated thing. Lots of efforts LTI MCA team has done. Appreciable.
So we'll proceed further. So now let us come back to the enhancement. So this point, I think most of the points we've already discussed. As I mentioned, so since MGT14, one of the purposes is changing your objects. So whenever you're changing an object that which impacts your NIC code, you have to provide an NIC 2008 instead of NIC 2004 in V3 system. And we have, as I've shown you the Excel, EMOA, EAOA we have introduced as a linked filing for multiple purposes in MGT14. So thereby, you need not provide this MGT14, AOA, MOA again and again in other forms. For example, if you are changing your address from one state to another state, so you will be selecting that purpose, and system will automatically mandate you to file EMOA in that case, because your objects will get impacted, right? So once you file this EMOA through MGT14, the same information will not be asked again in INC23 whenever you're going for RD approval or whenever you're filing INC22 for actual change of address, because instead of asking these details, we will ask the user to enter reference of MGT14, so that back office user will get this form directly in his processing workflow, and he can view it. There is no need to attach these details again and again in multiple forms. So, and the next point we've already discussed, we have added new purposes, existing purposes we have modified, and we have changed. As I mentioned, this form is conditional STP. So in V2 system, this alteration in memorandum of change of name is getting filed in the form of non-STP, which we have moved it to STP. And the sixth point is very important. So we have, as I mentioned, we have introduced this under liquidation under section 59 of IBC 2016 also in the layout. So which caters the requirement of changing your status from active to under liquidation, which is one of the most frequent kind of issues that we get from stakeholders. They will say my company is already under liquidation or under CIRP, but which form I have to file, what section I have to choose. So to avoid all these issues, we have introduced the section in MGT14 itself. So whenever you're selecting under liquidation and voluntary liquidation under Section 59 of IBC 2016, so your status would get automatically changed to under liquidation. And also in the form, you have to provide your liquidator details. So once this form gets approved, your association with that liquidator also would get created. So that going forward, liquidator can file any of the forms. There is no need to file this in the form of attachment to GNL2 in weekly system. So then, since we've talked about change of name, so since we are moving this purpose of processing type to non-STP to STP, so we have added a new field called SRN of RAN. So which means whenever you are changing, whenever you want to pass a resolution for change of name, so you have to first go and reserve a name, right? So you have to give a reference of that SRN in the form, and only then it will be auto-approved. So 10th point we've already discussed. Sections pertaining to IBC 2016 we have added in the form. One purpose we have added for voluntary liquidation under Section 59, and another one is miscellaneous section for IBC 2016. And interim resolution, so signatories also, as I mentioned, so you get to see this IRP, RP liquidator in many forms along with the normal signatories. And but the requirement is IRP, RP liquidator will be able to sign these forms only if your company is under CIRP or under liquidation. So INC28 declaration of commencement of business, there are no many changes. We just added one new attachment of photograph of registered office. Apart from this, there is no other change. We will quickly move to DIR3. DIR3 also, we have not made any changes except positioning of these attachments at the relevant block, and adding jurisdiction of police station. Otherwise, processing flow, the number of fields, the data that we capture, everything would remain same. There is no change in DIR3.
Just wanted to add one thing for INC20A. Like you will be for some of the forms you will be receiving the advance notification that kindly do the refiling, because there are specific timings which are there. So through compliance module you'll be receiving the notifications that your due date for filing of the form is there. So you'll be getting these advance notification from the MCA going ahead. For all the forms which has got prefixed dates. So similarly for 20A, if somebody sees that there is a information which is coming, so should not be taken by surprise, because these advanced notification will be coming to the FO user for informing them that these forms are due, or these are the dates by which you are required to do the filing.
Ma'am, when this functionality of compliance management will start? Any tentative idea? That is a very good.
Ma'am, we will keep you posted. We'll keep you posted.
That is a very good idea. Okay, ma'am.
Okay, so let us quickly move to INC22. So INC22 for changing your address. So there is no change in the processing type. It is again a conditional STP form. Whenever there is a change in ROC or change in state, or both are getting changed, then only it will go to non-STP. Otherwise, it will get processed under STP mode. So there is no change in terms of type of processing. Changes or enhancements that we have made is basically these first 2 points are common points, and the third is very important form, restriction on filing of form due to pendency of other forms. So actually we have this validation of pending forms check at multiple places where your SIN is getting changed, especially in case of conversion forms or address change related, wherever you SIN is getting impacted. So you will not be able to file this form unless all pending forms are cleared. But if that pendency of a form is pending because of the back office user, he's processing the form, or it is in the queue, so companies ended up paying additional fee or penalties. So to ensure that there's no such issues which would happen in V3 system, so we have shifted this validation from front end to back office. So basically we will be validating this definitely, but we will not be approving this form if there are any pending forms. But there is no restriction from stakeholders' point of view, so that they can go ahead and upload the form and meet all their timelines or whatever the due dates that are prescribed in the law. And we have removed many attachments, the copy of order of competency, list of all companies. So these attachments are basically we've removed because either we already have a reference of INC28, or we are capturing, or suppose if you look at copy of order of competent authority, So anyway, user will be giving a reference of INC28 after getting an order of INC23, right? So then I can, anytime if you want to see order of competent authority or as part of your processing, back office user can simply access that form and he can view the order. So there is no need to give this attachment again and again in the form. So that is why this attachment has been removed. And list of all companies having same registered address. This is also actually, so we can get this information from MCA database, right? We already have entire data in MCA system, so there is no need to ask the user to provide this information. So we don't know whether he's actually providing the correct information or not. So instead, it is better to fetch this information from the database. So that is why we've removed. And copy of altered memorandum of association, we have already discussed. So since we are already capturing this in MGT14, there is no need to give this information. Pass 3, written of allotment. So this is one of the important form or one of the, form where you get to see a complete change in terms of the way form is structured when compared with other forms, because in V2, the way form is structured is a different way. We have bifurcation of allotment cash basis other than cash and then bonus shares. But now, and after that, we will get what is the in case of private placement, so you will have to select a radio button, which is not which we will not be able to identify whether it is for cash or non-cash when both type of allotments are there. So there are so many ambiguities in current Pass 3 form. So that is the reason why this form has been enhanced. In fact, complete form has been restructured to first whenever you're trying to file for written of allotment, this user has to give a type of security for which he's trying to file the form. So whether he's trying to file for allotment of equity or allotment of preference or allotment of debenture, so he has to choose. And whenever he's choosing this type of securities, and then he has to give the type of allotment also in the form of drop down. We will be giving, when we say type of allotment, whether it is for public issue, bonus, preferential allotment, or private placement, or conversion from debentures to shares, whatever the allotment types that are there. So he has to choose the allotment type, and then only user can provide the details. And as I mentioned earlier, wherever you have capital details, you have to provide the details in the form of class wise. So that is why bifurcation of capital into different classes to be provided. We have added additional details relating to valuation to be captured, especially in, so this information is required to be given whenever you have type of allotment as other than cash. So, but we are capturing the details of valuer also, his name, his IBVR registration number, mobile number, email ID, all these details we are capturing in the form itself. And we have added some additional declarations also. And 6th point is very important. What happens in V3 system is, since we have this limit of 6 MB, if I have huge list of allottees, because a list of allottees is a mandatory attachment to Pass 3, right? So whenever you're filing a written of allotment, you have to give the list of allotted details in the form of attachment. Now in V2, since there is a limitation of 6 MB, whenever this list is, this attachment is going beyond that attachment, including the form is going beyond 6 MB, then you have to, so in V2 system, we have a separate FO service on portal called Upload Investor Details or Allotted Details, and he has to go there and he has to give the reference of SRN, and then he has to file these details in the form of Excel, which is what is happening in V2 system. So going forward, this functionality of providing allotted details through FO service is removed. Instead, you will have to do this entire activity within the form itself. So accordingly, the relevant enhancement in terms of file size has been given an exception to this form, so that you can file list of allottees, but you have to provide these details in the form of Excel only, the way it is happening in V2 system, but through FO service, but you have to do it within the form itself. This will again reduce the time of stakeholders. So because even though this is STP form, so the moment you say that you will give the details through FO service, it will never get approved. You have to,
and the particulars in the pre-designed template would be as per the rules.
Yes, ma'am. Instruction kit will, all the template format, everything will be there in your instruction kit. What is the template format and what all fields that are required to be given. So the template format also will be given in instruction kit. So, and then one more, we have added one declaration, which is again, we are facing some challenges in terms of capital master updates. That is basically the written of allotment in Pass 3 is not pending for any such allotment of securities. So what happens is, suppose if I have I have given my event date is basically in this form is your written of allotment date, right? Suppose I have given written of allotment as 1st December 2022 and I filed this form. And tomorrow, if I come back and try to file a form with event date lesser than the event date, which is already there, that is 1st June 2022, system is accepting in V2 system, then again we have to, whenever we are updating capital, we have to place all these checks that event date should not, because I should not update the older capital, right? So now to ensure that this kind of issues will not happen in V3, so it is the responsibility of the stakeholder who is filing the form has to mandatorily select this declaration that there is no pending allotment which has your date of allotment as prior to the current date of allotment. So this declaration also they have to select mandatorily. And other changes are basically in terms of attachments, removal, ma'ams, which we've already discussed in other forms. So I will quickly go to the next form. It's 7 form. So again, very important form for increasing your authorized capital. So major change happened in this form. That is in terms of processing. So in V2 system, SH7 is a complete non-STP form. So we have 6 different purposes in SH7. All these purposes are getting processed under non-STP only in V2. Now going forward in V3, first purpose, that is increase in share capital independently by the company, will get processed under STP mode, which is basically most frequently filed purpose. So if we say maybe 90 or 95% of the filings would happen with this purpose only. So which means SH7 would now largely get processed under STP mode only. So due date changes, there are no due date changes that we have done. So all the purposes would remain as is. Enhancements. So this point we've discussed, and EMOA also we've discussed. Since you are increasing your capital class would get affected. So that is the reason why you have to, system will mandatorily ask you to file EMOA and EAOA as a linked filing. And then we have removed many attachments which are relating to again order related or resolution related attachments. And instead of asking them to attach these details, we are asking them to give the reference of MCA21 or MCA28 to which they have filed this resolution or order copy, so that at any point in time, we can fetch these details from based on this reference of this SRNs of MCA14 or MCA28. And again, here also, share capital has been classified into different classes. So you have to provide your class-wise information. And we have added some declarations also. So I will not go through the declarations. So we'll quickly go to INC28. Yeah, ma'am.
Whatever is there in the master data with regard to that company, it will auto pre-fill in case of any of the form.
So ma'am, currently, class-wise information, so as a one-time activity, so since V2 system is not having this class-wise master, so for the first time, you have to give this information, whatever the form that you are going to file. So accordingly, system would create the class-wise master also. Once this class-wise master gets created, going forward, it will be pre-filled, ma'am. But initially, it will not get pre-filled because I do not have this information in V2 system, time, right? Yeah. Okay. So INC28, again, it can be filed for multiple purposes. One of the most complex form in MCA system after incorporation form. So again, in V2 system, so it is basically a complete non-STP form. So we have made this form as conditional STP, but hardly 1 or 2 purposes are moved to STP. So that I will just quickly show you. And let us discuss about enhancements. So we have changed this point we've discussed, and new drop-downs added and amendments made to existing drop-downs for which the form can be filed. So we have added, so basically new sections got added or existing sections got modified. All those changes we have made in INC28, especially in terms of IBC 2016 code. So we have added all the fields. So if you see for field number 4, additional fields introduced to capture the details of IRP liquidator. So it is similar to DIR 12, which is required to be filed for appointment cessation of directors, right? Now for INC28, you have, whenever you want to appoint IRP liquidator, so it is INC28 to which you have to appoint or cessate them or change them. So association changes of IRP liquidator happens through INC28 from going forward. And additional fields we have added for authorized capital of transferor and transferee company in case of amalgamation or merger. So what happens is in V2 system, so whenever merger or amalgamation happens, you will attach the order copy, and back of his user, he has to manually open the order copy and he has to punch in all the capital details, revised capital, because whenever transferor company is getting merged with transferee company, so transferee company authorized capital would get increased if provided in the order. So all these details, all these updates are happening through back office flow currently in V2 system, so which will now get converted into a form layout only, a machine readable format, so that FO user only has to give this information, and back office user only will validate the details, and only then will approve it. This would again save the time of back office user, and I mean, at least FO user will know what is the update that is going to happen. And same is the case with the reduction of share capital. So whenever you're filing the form for reduction of share capital, your paid up capital would get reduced, right? So again, in V2 system, it is happening through that back office users. He has to input the details. Now going forward, FO user only has to give these details along with the NCLT order. So we have changed some nomenclature changes, and we have added signatures of IRP, RP liquidators. So automated change of status. So again, as we discussed in MDT14, similar to that, here also we have added the status updates whenever you file IBC, whenever you file a form with IBC code 2016. So even though currently we have INC28, we have this purpose, we are not doing any master data updates. But going for in V3, so whenever you're filing for a form with even for IBC code 2016, so relevant status changes or association of IRP, RP liquidator, all these updates would happen as part of your approval process.
Yeah. Just wanted to add, and besides that, whatever the existing board, their signatory powers will be withdrawn, and in those companies only IRP and RP and liquidators will be able to do the signing part.
So ma'am, with this, we'll take a stop and discuss about the questions, ma'am. So I think we are running late, or you want me to cover the remaining forms? There's so too many forms. So more or less, I think we have covered all complex forms.
Yeah. For remaining forms, maybe we will have more series of webinar, because firstly we should digest all these new things. There are a lot of new things which you have mentioned. So I will take quickly the questions. There are lots of specific questions which I have received. I will just run through. If you have certain answers other than the raising of ticket, you can mention. Like I have prepared form DEIR 12 mentioned CP number of professional, but in PDF generated showing blank in the CP number. Also unable to upload the another form. This may be a specific issue.
Yeah, with respect to user, ma'am. So user can raise it.
And many questions are relating to name reservation. If someone has already got reserved the name in V2, what will happen to that in V3 system?
They can file Spice Plus Part B by taking that name map. So maybe users are facing some issues in filing Spice Plus Part B currently, because migration of this pending SRNs is in progress. Maybe in a day or two, so they will be able to resubmit they will be able to file a fresh form in Spice Plus Part B if they have not already filed it. If form is already marked under RSAP, so they will be able to resubmit it in V3.
Okay. Do we have to roll check the DSC in V3 again as a professional if we have done it earlier in V3? V3 only.
In V3, there is no need to do a roll check map. So it is same user role and same DSC, right? So if you are doing it in V2, then you have to associate your DSC.
Like after first launch and second set of launch, I think they're asking again, there is no requirement. Okay. Not able to select the area locality in form DIR3. I think it's a specific one.
So ma'am, not able to locality, area and locality is dependent on your PIN code. So whatever the PIN code that you're selecting, make sure that is there in All India PIN code master. And the moment you enter the PIN code master, so area locality will come as a drop down. So you will not be able to enter these details manually. So you have to choose from a drop down. So because the drop down will get enabled only after entering your PIN code, valid PIN code.
So one has to enter valid PIN code first and then select the.
Yes.
How to resubmit SPICE form as no resubmission tab is available?
Ma'am, I think team is working on it. So very soon they will get a mail also for this. So we will be enabling resubmission.
Okay. If any subscriber to memorandum has paid share subscription amount in cash, where to put such details in form INC 20A, as there is no text box to enter such details.
So, ma'am, subscription details in INC 20A currently, which is getting filed as an attachment, we have converted that into a machine readable format. So they have to, we have added a separate table for that. So they have to provide the details over there.
No change you have done in the format as it was earlier. It is the same
But
in this.
only
also.
attachment got converted into a machine readable format now.
Facing error while submitting form DIR 12, that is DIR 12 is already filed for cessation of director, having so kindly use associated signatory. This message is coming while
Maybe,
submitting
ma'am,
form
again,
DIR 12.
user specific issue, I guess, if they can raise a ticket with
So
all the details.
So there could be a scenario that the person who's signing the form, maybe in the system, he must have already filed the form for the cessation, or a DIR 12 form is already pending. Unless and until the fate of that is decided, no new form DIR 12 will be able to, the system, they'll allow for the filing of DIR 12.
So that once that processing gets over, then only one can file the another form.
Correct, ma'am.
After clicking on the mini dashboard button next to the SRN of SPICE Part A, SPICE Part B is not loaded. What is to be done? I think specific one, the name is valid only for 20 days.
Ma'am, maybe it is basically the loading issue on the dashboard. So we would request user to try after some time. So all these issues are, I think data is getting moved from week to weekly, right? Maybe the loading issue. Otherwise, he should be able to, the moment you click on mini dashboard, system will take the user to the SPICE Plus Part E directly.
Okay, we are group company of 60 SPVs. How can we use single user ID for filing of forms for all SPVs? I think professional staff member.
Yeah, professional users say they can log, they can file, ma'am. Staff member, they can, a number of user IDs will be there, right? So by using those user IDs, they can file.
Few public documents do not reflect the forms filed under V3. Can you please clarify as to how can we see the forms which were filed under V3?
Ma'am, I think very soon, I think we will get an update on VPD.
Okay. So the team is working. That is
yes,
an issue you are aware of?
Yes, yes, ma'am.
Since form AOC 5 is still not available on MCA portal, can you please let us know the due date of filing of this form?
AOC 5 is available, ma'am. Maybe user is trying to access the portal with the only registered user login, because we are getting many complaints saying that we are not able to access the forms. So we would request the stakeholders to log in with the business user role to access all the forms. Other ways to view the form is basically to go back to the notification which is issued by MCA. 11 different notifications are there, so they can view the form layout from the notification. So that is also another option.
This one is, I think, specific. An error is showing as DIR 11 is already filed for existing director, whereas no DIR 11 was filed for any director.
Maybe again intermittent issue because of migration, ma'am. So user can raise a ticket if he's facing the same issue.
Right. How to track whether DIR DPT3 is filed on V3 or not, as the same is not visible in VPD. I think you people are working on this.
Yes.
VPD issue.
Yes, ma'am.
How to update membership number in registered user account if after creating V3 account, member is escalated to FCS from ACS. This is a long pending issue. We have written representation also to MCA. Kindly do something on this, because our ACS got converted to FCS if they apply after 5 years. So there is no process for updation of that, and for same they cannot file the forms also.
Yeah, Seema, let us make a note of it and we'll discuss with MCA.
Yeah, we are aware of certain issues with regard to the login module. We'll have a resolution.
ICSI sends weekly this data to the MCA, but this does not get updated through that email. I don't know. There must be or maybe there is a separate form which can be created for sending this updated ACS to FCS.
Ma'am, we are aware of this scenario. It's a known this thing. We'll come back to you with the resolution very soon.
please. That is a long pending issue. Kindly take note of it. Okay. This you have already replied. Disqualification for Form DIR 9 required under Section 164(1) and 164(2)(b covered, but 164(2)(a) regarding non-filing of balance sheet or annual returns are not covered
Yes,
in Form DIR 9.
Yeah,
Yes,
ma'am,
ma'am.
this will be done through system, through compliance module. System will capture that whosoever has defaulted in making the balance sheet and filing the annual return, it will be done through system. So people can be rest assured that it will be taken care of. It will be done through compliance module, ma'am. This will be the first regulation which is going to run when compliance module is going to come.
Okay. Complaint form is still not available for V3 portal. When will be the form introduced? Investor complaint form
is there in V2, ma'am. So it will be
V2,
along with the next
in
lot.
V3. In V3.
In V3
I think in next slot it will be.
Yes, ma'am.
So this size, regarding size, the 10 MB size is for all the form including all attachments or individual attachments?
Yes, ma'am. Individual
Form
attachment is restricted to 2 MB. Total overall attachment size is 10 MB.
Okay. So I think others are specific one. We will take. We will send you the specific questions through email also.
Sure, ma'am.
Ma'am, just a small request to all our fellow professionals that we are aware that we professionally know that whatever form filing is, how it is to be done. But we would personally request that people should go through the instruction kits. There are really changes in the V3 form filing status and the way information is to be captured. Many filings, if it is wrong or defaulted, it will lead to some action from the MCA side. So to avoid that, we personally would request each and every professional who has joined us today to kindly go through the instruction kit and have a look into the instruction kit so that they understand that what all information which is required to be filled, what are the do's and don'ts which is to be done. It'll hardly take them 10 minutes to go through this. They are very explicit in nature, and it'll be easier for them to raising a problem with raising a ticket and getting a resolution for it. So I am
correct, and yeah,
seriously telling everybody to, I know that all are very learned professionals. They have got some years of experience behind them. They do not have to go through anything or everything. But from system perspective, I would request that each and everyone should go through the instruction kit and have a look into it. That is my
because the system is
suggestion.
very new now.
Yes,
the system is new. One is required to be aware, and there are lots of FAQs also which are introduced by MC on the website. One should go through them also.
yes.
And there are lots of clarification through the webinars also.
Right. And most of the queries will be sorted out through either the instruction kits or the FAQs which are there on the MCA website. So it'll make their life genuinely very easier.
Correct. So around 16,000 participants